The great Winston Churchill is reported to have once said, "Everyone is in favour of free speech. Hardly a day passes without its being extolled." But some people's idea of it is that they are free to say what they like, but if anyone says anything back, that is an outrage. An apt description, you'd think, of our chilling new life under Two Tier Keir Starmer, an authoritarian leader who in just 4 weeks in Downing Street is stamping on Britain's right to speak freely about the most controversial political issues of the day. So just like during World War II, today I make a plea to our American friends: save us from this tyranny. Your pressure online, largely on free speech hero Elon Musk's X, to humiliate the left in the UK is working. But we need to keep up the pressure, and we need you to keep up the pressure, because things are bad here. Real bad. A 55-year-old businesswoman, critical of government policies for years, arrested, then locked up for over 48 hours for posting information about the Southport massacre with the caveat, if this is true. This 28-year-old, Jordan Parler, sent down for 20 months for a Facebook post about the riots, which he never actually attended in physical form. Tyler Kay, sentenced to 38 months in prison for copying a post made on X by Lucy Connolly, the wife of a Tory politician, a situation Elon Musk quite rightly condemned by saying, "This is messed up." And now, our potential future Prime Minister, the unofficial leader of the opposition, Nigel Farage, he's had to go on American TV, not British TV, which is censored, American TV, to admit he is now worried himself about being arrested.
Nigel, let me ask you, for you personally, are you concerned that any statements you make could get you arrested?
Yes, I mean, after the triple murder of those poor, sweet little girls, a few hours went by, and there was huge speculation online about this man. Was he an illegal immigrant? Was he an Islamist? And no one knew the truth. And I simply asked on X, did this man have a record? Is he somebody that the security services were watching? Answer there came none. Then after the riots happened, you've got the whole establishment saying that I encouraged rioting. Well, I mean, all I did was to say, please tell us the truth. Funnily enough, if they had told us the truth, the rioting would not have been anything like as bad as it was, and the authorities need to wake up to an online world. So yes, I am currently coming under a serious assault, and many of the campaigners on the left are publicly saying that I should be arrested simply for asking to know the truth about the murderer. I'm worried.
Yes.
Now, I think Nigel has a genuine reason to be worried. I've actually spoken to some of the country's most prominent conservative and independent thinkers over the weekend, all of whom have expressed fear that they could end up behind bars amid a very obvious attempt by the establishment to eradicate controversial debate. For an idea about what slippery Starmer thinks about this issue, listen to his biographer Tom Baldwin, a senior Labour advisor on Newsnight.
But there's a sort of silly argument sometimes about free speech, and Musk is sort of trying to pretend sort of freedom of speech is some absolute right. It's never been an absolute right, and we have regulation. The BBC is regulated. I think the BBC is better for being regulated. I don't think we have enough regulation of the press. I think the press is worse for not being regulated. Social media is just another form of media, and for too long, people in that sort of internet world, there's a whole idea of freedom of the internet. They've thought that sort of somehow that this great technological change can go through without touching the sides of democracy. I think democracy needs to sort of reinsert itself.
Yeah.
Believe them when they say free speech is dead, and then we've got to fight for our right to express ourselves online, to inspire you to be brave and to show our American cousins that actually the best of British very much believe in the need for free speech. I want to provide you two really important moments of context from the past. First, the comedian who created Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, who is perhaps most importantly an eloquent champion of free speech.
Underlying prejudices, injustices, or resentments are not addressed by arresting people. They are addressed by the issues being aired, argued, and dealt with, preferably outside the legal process. For me, the best way to increase society's resistance to insulting or offensive speech is to allow a lot more of it. As with childhood diseases, you can better resist those germs to which you have been exposed. We need to build our immunity to taking offence so that we can deal with the issues that perfectly justified criticism can raise. Our priority should be to deal with the message, not the messenger.
That was 12 years ago now, and how far we have fallen. But even more fascinating is this clip from the late, great Christopher Hitchens. He warned back in 2009, just 2 years before his death, exactly the direction the UK was heading and the peril we would be in if we failed to heed his warnings.
Give it up or give it to your deadliest enemy and pay for the rope that will choke you. This is very urgent business, ladies and gentlemen, I beseech you. Resist it while you still can, and before the right to complain is taken away from you, which will be the next thing. You will be told you can't complain because you're Islamophobic. The term is already being introduced into the culture as if it was an accusation of race hatred, for example, or bigotry, whereas it's only the objection to the preachings of a very extreme and absolutist religion. Watch out for these symptoms. They are not just symptoms of surrender, very often ecumenically offered to you by men of God in other robes, Christian and Jewish and smarmy ecumenical. These are the ones who will hold open the gates for the barbarians. The barbarians never take a city till someone holds the gates open for them. And it's your own preachers who will do it for you, and your own multicultural authorities who will do it for you. Resist it while you can. And if you wonder what will happen if you don't, look and see how a cricket team in Middlesex in England had to change its name by force last week because it was called, and had been for years, the Middlesex Crusaders. Look and see how stories about little pigs can't be taught to children in English schools anymore, lest offence be taken by the religion of peace. Resist it while you can.
One of the things that is coming up over and over again is Islamophobia. And well, you can see the stats, you can see the numbers rising, particularly since October the 7th. Although we shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that before October the 7th, this was all heading in the right direction. It's been far too high for far too long. Clearly, we need to just say over and over again, Islamophobia is intolerable. It can never, ever be justified. And we have to continue with a zero tolerance approach. And I think there's more we can do in government. There's certainly stuff online which I think needs tackling much more robustly than it is at the moment.
What I'm hoping, Keir, is your experience as a prosecutor means you'll be thinking about the strategy we can use to make sure we take action against those who break.
Give it up.
So it's happened, folks. Exactly what Christopher Hitchens warned of. The Conservative Party took their eye off the ball, and the Labour Party, as a result, are instituting a policy of full-on control. No debate allowed. So again, I call on our American friends to keep up the fight for us. Because actually, if the UK falls when it comes to freedom of speech, that's very bad news for the West. We, Mahyar, are very concerned about what is happening here in the UK. Of course we are. Nigel Farage says we should be worried that he could be arrested. This is the man who's about to be the potential leader of the opposition. This is North Korea stuff. This is Russia stuff. What is happening?
Oh, it's funny because until recently we used to make fun of the Canadian government for going authoritarian against free speech. We were making fun of the French for rioting. Seems like we do take a lot of best case studies or worst case studies from the world when it comes to the British government and society in general. It's slightly boring, obviously, but I'm still optimistic because obviously I was raised as a fighter in a sense that anything that bad that happens if you're going through darkness, then at least be aware that there will eventually be light, and you have to be aware of what's going on. So a lot of people are still burying their heads in the sand. A lot of people who don't follow politics or current affairs or even watch new media outlets, they're still being fed by the BBC, CNN, and all those guys. So I think what's been going on, while it's very dark and sad, it will be waking a lot of people up.
Yeah, it definitely will. But the thing is, do you understand why people are terrified, Mahyar? I mean, we've literally seen folk thrown into jail for 2 years for retweeting something.
I think one of the main problems that a lot of people have is, and I get contacted by people who watch my channel, is it's the inconsistency. It's uncertain. They don't know exactly what the rules are because they keep changing every 10 minutes. And some rules are not part of the rules. For example, as you said, people have been posting inaccurate content on social media, or somebody was watching a protest on a pavement and it makes no sense, because I think a lot of people are just scared because of that. They don't even know. Because back in the day, it was easy. Don't incite violence. If you incite violence, that's illegal. And then over the years, they're like, don't be offensive. But then that was also what was the gray area, because anything could be offensive. Offense is taken, not given. And now people are concerned because they're saying, well, even if I don't even offend someone, I can get into trouble. That makes no sense.
First, though, what's so important about being independent is I'm only ever going to tell you about products that I use and truly believe in, and Verso is one of them. I've entered my 40s, so staying healthy is really important to me. I exercise virtually every day, wasn't very good over the weekend, had a few drinks, but usually I'm doing the 16-8 fast. I have lost weight. However, scientists like David Sinclair have proven we can now reverse aging with interventions that go beyond healthy habits. So I wanted a product that I knew would enhance everything I was already doing, one that's backed up by solid evidence. I cannot tell you how good Cell Being by Verso is. That's the name of the product, Cell Being. It has scientifically proven ingredients that fight the effects of aging. It does that by increasing the NAD+ levels. Now, NAD+, that's the thing that powers every cell in your body. For me, the product has been transformative. Fasting is so much easier. I've lost fat. I'm eating less too, and that's because it has blood sugar regulating effects in the product, which actually lead to fewer cravings. It really helps with sleep too, and energy. So this is a brilliant anti-aging product. The really helpful thing to know too is that Verso publishes third-party testing from each batch produced to guarantee you are getting what you paid for. And I'm very excited to say an amazing offer today. If you head right now to buy.ver.so/outspoken, you will save 15% on your first order. All you need to do is use the coupon code outspoken. The link is available in our YouTube and Rumble description. But to repeat, bui.ver.so/outspoken. Use the coupon code outspoken. Now, what did you make of that clip from Christopher Hitchens, who warned? I mean, it's incredible, Maya, when you think about it. 14 years ago, he died 2 years after that clip, and he warned that this could result in Islamophobia being banned. Then cut to the clip of Starmer and Sadiq Khan saying exactly that.
It's a very classic human thing. We continue to not learn from history, and this is only 14 years ago. So when Christopher Hitchens was talking about this, and I think the fact that he's no longer with us is actually part of the problem, because if he were still alive, he could have reminded us 6 years ago, 4 years ago, last year, and now. It might have helped a little bit. I don't think it was going to be a complete victory if he was still alive, and we would have actually won that battle, but the battle of words, because it matters. That's how people say it's the leftists. It's not really just the leftists. It's control freaks, what I call statists, those who are believers of the state should be in charge of your life. They always use words against you, and when these sort of things have already happened in countries like Lebanon and Iran in the 1970s, when the Islamic occupiers managed to do a paramilitary coup and take over, how did they do it? The liberals allowed them to do it. And then, of course, they went the hard left. But then who was the first victim? It was the same far left who were actually helping the Islamic occupation. And that every single time it backfires. I don't understand how many times we have, and it's not really just about the Islamic issue. It's about the control freaks and those who want to control your life, and it could come from different angles.
Yeah, all you're doing is pushing this issue underground. You're not changing the fundamentals. You're not solving the situation in the country, and it's actually going to get a lot worse for you. But Mahyar, there is so much proof as well of two-tier policing by the day. So I want to show you this one example. So this is Dr. Anis Altilriki. Now, he was filmed by 5 Pillars at the anti-racist demos in Harrow. He's from the Cordoba Foundation. But listen to what he had to say, Mahyar.
So let's make absolutely clear. We are here to eradicate a cancer to all human beings. Let's never believe in the lie that they wish to take back the country. The country that is riddled with racism is a country that cannot thrive, cannot prosper, cannot live, cannot survive.
Mahyar, I mean, how on earth... And by the way, can I just be clear? I don't want him to be arrested, but if you're arresting all the folk on the other side, how on earth can he walk the streets?
The problem is you now have various mentalities and cultures who are here, and I'm not just talking about necessarily foreign cultures. I'm talking about different philosophies and worldviews, whether it's communists, whether it's Marxists, whether it's the left-wing liberal wokey weirdos, whether it's the Islamists. They have this problem, which is they genuinely believe they are the goodies, and they genuinely believe that they are the ones on the side of the right, in a sense that when they fight, it's justified. When they punch you, it's justified. When they come and steal your property, that's justified, because they always have an excuse for it. So they go around saying, yeah, we need to fight racism. Oh, well, that Jew needs to go, for example, or that white person needs to go. It's the same thing that happened by the followers of Karl Marx over the last century, saying, yeah, we love all humans. Unless you have some money in your bank account, then we're going to come for you. And I don't understand why those who claim to be our protectors, those in the state, those in the authorities, and I do believe that not all of them have turned into wokey weirdos. There are some people who are, they might be out of touch, but they genuinely believe that, yeah, they are protecting the country, they are protecting society. How can they not see what's going on? Or are they completely powerless now? And can't they speak? What's going on?
Well, yeah, totally. I totally agree with all of that. But Mahyar, also, what I find so fascinating is these wokey weirdos, as you call them in the establishment, all of a sudden they're really tough, Mahyar, when they have white working class criminals to track down. They're more than happy to ignore the pro-Hamas riots. They're more than happy to ignore all of the middle class white folk trying to stop the highways as part of Just Stop Oil. But look at what happens when the white working class express their discontent. I want to show you Chief Constable Serena Kennedy from Merseyside Police. Now, this is Merseyside Police that, by the way, if your home is broken into, they're probably not going to come around. They're certainly about 95% not going to solve it. But if you're a white working class person who decided to attend a riot, even if you weren't involved in any violence, listen to her warning.
What I would say to those people who think they've got away with being involved in the disorder on Tuesday or on Saturday, you absolutely haven't got away with it. We are coming for you. We've got hours of social media footage. We've got hours of CCTV footage. I've got officers working round the clock to identify who you are, where you live, where you work. We are coming for you. We'll be coming for you for the next few days. We'll be coming for you for the next few months. So you might get to next week. You might be sitting with a cup of tea thinking, phew, I've got away with it. Please let me reassure you, you haven't got away with it. We are coming for you. You will feel the full force of the law.
We are coming for you, Mahyar. Interesting. We never had any videos like that from the police when grooming gangs were being ignored for years and years and years, did we? But it's almost like they feel safe to hunt down the white working class folk. They feel safe to demonize the white working class folk.
Yeah, for years we've been telling the police in the United Kingdom to be a little bit harder, stop being soft and vanilla.
Yes.
And the moment they start listening, they targeted the wrong people. It's fascinating because when the riots in Leeds happened in the north of England, which was about it was a gypsy family.
Oh,
and
yes, the Roma thing. But there were Muslim
yeah.
sects and that as well.
Yeah, but no, but the issue with that was that the actual cause, the reason for the riots, they said that because social services came, took the kids because the parents were bad, and the pundits, the liberals, and the media, everybody said, well, no, these people are angry, they're concerned about what happened to these children, so that's fine what happened. And then when 3 little girls were literally killed, and people were angry and came out and did their similar things, like in Leeds, then that was different. That wasn't justified. 3 people lost their lives. But also the police in Leeds, when the riots happened, and yes, it was a combination of all communities. You had some from the Muslim community, you had some from the Eastern European countries, but the police told the emergency services to actually avoid the riot zone all night until the next morning. And they also, afterwards, they said nothing, absolutely nothing. These warning videos you just showed, we've heard this so many times over the last week or so from the police, Mark Rowley and all the others, we'll come for you. They haven't said any of that to the Leeds rioters.
No. And by the way, the 2 men who we saw with our own eyes, Mahyar, beat up police officers at Manchester Airport, well, they haven't been charged. They're hosting press conferences.
I mean, those guys, that was a fascinating one because they also, one of them managed to beat up his own mum. I mean, it makes it in the middle of all this. I was like, what is going on?
I know, that poor mother. That poor mother. Exactly. But look, I think we see so many examples of two-tier policing. That is the problem. We see it with our own eyes. How do you feel, Mahyar, as well, about the fact that actually there feels like massive intellectual dishonesty coming from all parts of the mainstream media? So I'll give you an example. I switched on very briefly GB News on Saturday. My old employer. Well, exactly. It was a mistake because I was angry immediately in a few seconds because on their main news bulletin, I think this was at 7 p.m, they stated as a fact, Mahyar, that the riots had been caused by social media disinformation, blaming the Southport massacre on an asylum seeker or someone who had entered the country illegally on a boat. Now, that is so untrue. And I expect that from the BBC. I expect that from Woke ITV. I expect that from Sly News. But from GB News, it's like, this is not true, Mahyar. If you look at what happened, right, literally the day of the massacre, there were about 2 hours where that false piece of information spread, but very quickly police confirmed that the man was born in the UK. By the time the riots started, we were all aware that he was the son of immigrants from Rwanda. That's what caused the anger. That's what caused the locals to heckle Slippery Starmer. Do you remember when he visited the Southport massacre site? So for media, the mainstream media, to now be stating as fact that the British people are so stupid that we were suckered in by a couple of incorrect tweets and that's what caused the discontent is just so offensive.
They make it sound like, as you said, that the reaction was instant. If it was instant within like half an hour or an hour, then yeah, that theory could be true. That, yes. It only took half an hour, but it was the next day anyway. Everybody already knew the information. And I would say actually the main reason for the outrage and the protests wasn't necessarily that it was confirmed it was a kind of someone with foreign background. It was the fact that it was 3 little girls. We've had so many attacks by either legal migrants, illegal migrants, Islamists, this, that, over the last few years. If it were just because of that, or there's a foreign attack, then we would have had riots every single week. And this time that everything got built up and eventually imploded, and the fact that 3 little innocent girls were the victims, that was the last trigger for a lot of people in the country. If they just wanted to show their prejudice and racism, they could have come out every week when there's a stabbing by some sort of migrant in London or in Manchester.
Exactly. It sometimes, Mahyar, it takes a crime, doesn't it, of such horror that actually it inspires a new movement. And what's so interesting is all of these people who are so disgusted by the white working class anger after the Southport massacre were very happy with the Black Lives Matter riots that destroyed American cities and caused mass carnage in London where so many police officers were injured. They thought the death of George Floyd was a crime that was acceptable to spark that violence. Even Two Tier Keir, look, there he is, down on his knees. He was absolutely happy with the Black Lives Matter rights. So we do see so much two-tier policing. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.